So it's a huge welcome and thank you for the interest in Trailblazers. And Trailblazers are more than an award. Today's event will conclude by 1:30, so we appreciate that that's some people's lunchtime. You get back to your desks or your offices or wherever you may be working by 1:30. I'm Javid Thomas, founder of the Collaboratory and co-founder alongside Raj Tulsiani of Race Equality Matters. Raj Tulsiani is also the CEO of Green Park. And today we're joined by Anna Irving, most important person here from the Race Equality Matters team today. She's the project manager for Trailblazers and Race Equality Matters Solutions. So she'll be your main contact going forward for Trailblazers. She'll be speaking a bit later today. Before we start, a bit of housekeeping. We acknowledge and are looking to help make our events more accessible. Closed captioning is enabled in the main session. We have sent some slides to those that requested them earlier. The event is being recorded, so you'll be able to access them later along with the slides. So we appreciate a recap is quite helpful for some people. To minimize disturbance, your sound will be auto-disabled. So please share ideas and questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond to your questions. Please be aware that the Zoom text chat can sometimes be extremely busy. So if you have a notification setting on, you may wish to disable it, because when people are chatting away on it, it can be a bit off-putting for some, we understand. And everyone, please tweet and post on social media content during and after the event to help us grow the community. Next slide, please. Thank you, Nish. All of this would not be possible without the support of our partners who, along with Green Park, are funding Race Equality Matters. And behind the scenes today, supporting us is Nish, who's running the PowerPoint. So a big thank you also to Lloyd's, our newest key partner. Next slide, please. Co-founder Race Collaboratory, which we mentioned, and also to our lifetime visionary partner, BT, and Auto Trader HS2, Edelman and Network Rail, and some others you can see there. It's important that we acknowledge their support, because this means you can access all of Race Equality Matters Solutions resources for free. We are a not-for-profit and keen to remain sustainable and make a greater impact, and hence need further funding. So if any of your organizations would like to get involved with funding, sponsorships, donations, or marketing opportunities, please do get in touch to find out more. We'd love to speak to you. Next slide, please. Today's session is all about helping organizations to achieve Trailblazer status and help you determine if yours is ready. We'll explain why Trailblazers was created and its importance. We'll go through how you apply along with top tips. You'll hear from a Trailblazer. We've had a recorded interview, and also we've had recorded interviews from 2 previous judging panelists, what they were looking for when they were deciding. We'll share some examples of what good organizations have been doing, and opportunities. There'll be a number of opportunities to ask questions during the event. There'll also be a roundup poll, which will help us support you more going forward. Next slide, please. On the off chance you're new to Race Equality Matters, a double warm welcome to you. As I said, we're not for profit, but our aim is all about being a catalyst to move organizations and individuals from just talking about race to meaningful action that has real impact. And this is one of the key reasons why Trailblazers was created. And that is why it's more than an award. We co-create concepts and solutions in collaboration with those with lived experience of racial inequality. The key is to help organizations make the impact we all want to see and indeed feel. As you can see on the slide here, our solutions, which you'll find more information on the website, and we'll include some in the link, but we'll also share in the notes afterwards, are Race Equality Week, The Big Promise, Safe Space, and a new reiteration is coming soon, Tea Break, and My Name Is, which is all about the importance of pronouncing other people's names correctly. Next slide, please. Some of you may be aware of the 5-day challenge. 5 challenges that take 5 minutes each over 5 days, which was launched during Race Equality Week. And we had over hundreds of organizations taking part in that. We also have a Race Equality Matters jobs board, and we'll explain more about that later. And finally, we have Trailblazers, the reason we're all here today. So Trailblazers, what is it? What are they? Firstly, and it's important, it is more than an award. You know, we're not going for a big black tie ceremony at the end of it. For far too long, progress tackling race equality has been too slow. We, and you know, do not want this, and we want this to change. And this is how we're going to be able to do it. Next slide, thank you. During Race Equality Week, one of the insights we picked up was 48% of respondents felt their organization talked but took little action in tackling race inequality. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of gesturing. And a further 10% said their organization just talked, did no action at all. So the majority, this is 2 years on from what we call the moment, very little progress. The evidence from those with lived experience is clear. There's been a lot of talk, but limited meaningful action by their and other organizations. The result being we're not seeing any progress or impact. Trailblazers is designed to hear what is making a difference and recognize those organizations that are driving change that is having a meaningful impact. It also is there to recognize what works. Next slide, please. Thank you. Why have we created Trailblazers was wonderfully captured by a quote from one of our judging panelists, summing up why it's more than an award. Race Equality Matters Trailblazers will shine a light on organizations who are tackling racial inequality with effective methods. This subsequently helps create a standard and repository for good practice, which can help other organizations in their journey to become anti-racist. Next slide, please. It's important to also have this status as it can help attract diverse talent and show what tangible actions organizations are taking to create an inclusive environment. Next slide. As a number of the co-creators of Trailblazer said, it is setting a high bar that will, by default, accelerate progress. It's a standard setter, it's an education tool, an organization can use it as a genuine marketing tool. And fundamentally, it's a way of recognizing what actually has a meaningful impact on the drive for race equality, so that the more organizations can look to follow in the footsteps of those that are trailblazers. Thank you. Achieving trailblazer status can also represent evidence to your key stakeholders, your employees and future employees, customers and clients, shareholders, investors, and also to your community. Next slide, thank you. There are two types of trailblazer status, which you might be aware of. The first for organizations that have successfully run a race equality matters solution. You can apply to be a solution trailblazer for any of the solutions that you've run, such as Safe Space Trailblazer, Tea Break Trailblazer. By achieving this, this is lifelong recognition. It's yours forever because you've run it and shown it has made a difference. Next slide. The second type of trailblazer status covers both race equality matters solutions and or other actions your organizations have taken to tackle race inequality. So it doesn't just have to be race equality matters stuff. Because we know, as well as race equality matters solutions, we recognize that there may be other solutions or initiatives out there that work. So we want to acknowledge those that do and shine a light on them so that other people are aware of these initiatives and can learn from you. Next slide, thank you. You initially apply to achieve bronze status. Then over time, you progress to silver, gold, and platinum as a result of delivering greater impact at each stage. These Trailblazer Awards are time limited, and there's a reason behind that when we co-created Trailblazers. This is to ensure that organizations keep the momentum going and don't live off an award they achieved a long, long time ago with very little progress since, a story we hear too often from the community. Hence, within 6 to 18 months, organizations are required to demonstrate that more and continued action and impact has been made. The higher level awards of gold and platinum may take a number of years for an organization to achieve. They're designed to encourage continuous improvement over a significant period of time, and most importantly, make an even greater impact, because addressing race inequality needs to be ongoing and not a series of one-offs. Next slide. Nish will just play a video to see our first wave of Trailblazers and who your organizations can be up there with. Thank you, Nish. Thank you. All successful Trailblazers receive a range of assets that you can use, so including the certificate and letter of achievement, you can see here, Trailblazer logo, plus press releases, social media assets, and featured blog posts, among others. So you get a whole range of assets that you can use as you see fit. We'll now briefly share an overview of how you become a Race Equality Matters Trailblazer and the journey. In a nutshell, the process is as follows, and we will share these slides and visuals with you afterwards. So I appreciate it might be a bit overwhelming initially. So firstly, to support you in your application, and this is optional, we can carry out a light review from your application and let you know how it could be improved before it's sent to the judges. For this, we have a deadline of the 14th of April. So that's the 14th of April. It's purely optional. And for our time, if anyone will consider a donation, that will be greatly appreciated. I said that's purely optional. Then the final deadline for submission of application is the 28th of April. So this is done via an online form, an application now open again after this event, or you can go via our website. You can go on and open your application. And just to let you know, when you're going through the application, you can sort of like you kind of log off and come back in. It holds it for you. To support it, you can also submit a video application demonstrating the criteria allowed in the application form if you prefer that. There is also the option for applying to recognize work you may have done wider outside your organization. So impacting to wider society or other organizations. So if that's the case, please ask us if you'd like to apply for that status. Third bit is after submission is received, your application will be vetted to be suitable and then sent to be judged. When we send it to the judges, it will be anonymized. So they won't know. They'll know the sector, but they won't necessarily know which organization it is. So once sent to the judges on the 5th of May, they will then have 2 weeks to assess the criteria of your submission. And I'll go through judging after this. All the applications and all the criteria will then be assessed and assessed and determined whether successful, borderline, or on this occasion has not met the criteria. Successful applications will be announced on the 5th of July at our Race Network Leaders and Future Leaders event. We appreciate, as I said, you may not complete the application one go. So by using a Google account, you can save progress. Okay, next slide, please. For the applications that are found to be borderline, so once the judges have made assessment, we come back to you because we're trying to encourage and support organizations to achieve status. So each borderline application will receive feedback, visual and written, to explain what the judges are looking for or why it's borderline. You'll then be given 14 days from the 26th of May for resubmission and improvements. The deadline will be then the 9th of June. And as I said, I will give all these dates to you afterwards. This revised submission will be then reviewed by a panel of judges. Some may be from the original cohort and some will be new. And then as per the other successful Trailblazers, whether successful will be then announced on the 5th of July. So there is kind of a second option on it. Next slide, thank you. After successful Trailblazers have all been announced, all applications, both successful and those that did not reach the criteria this time, will be given feedback report to facilitate future applications, whether to reapply or the next stage. All reports will include the strong areas of your application, so you know what you're doing well, and suggestions for areas to focus on, as well as visuals of the scoring. So here's what a good, a successful report looks like. So as you can see here, the green and yellow is positive scoring. So this is a breakup of the judges. It's just more of a visual than to read the detail on them. Next slide. This is where criteria is not met report. So you can see blue and red, which are not positive scores. So you can see obviously that this application got very mixed reviews. And the next one. So this is borderline. So it's got a lot of green and yellow, but also some of the other colors. So this is why it's borderline. So collectively, the judges saw it very different. That's why we come back to you. Thank you. So how does the judging work and decisions made? Each application is reviewed and scored by independent judging panelists. A Race Equality Matters team does not do any of the judging. All the judges have diverse experiences and backgrounds, and all identify as ethnically diverse. Next slide. To remove the risk of biases, the applications, as we mentioned earlier, are kept as anonymous as possible. The judges score them independently. Questions are assessed on a scale of 0 to 5, from no evidence through to strong, clear evidence. And we'll show you the scoring. So again, this is something to be aware of. So when you send your responses, they will look at your responses and go, 0, and there was no evidence of answering that question. 1, little or minimal evidence. 2, not quite enough evidence. 3, fair evidence. 4, good evidence. And 5, clear and substantial evidence. You need to be aiming for the 4s and 5s to make the status. So when you think, are we showing enough? This is all about evidence, not just saying we've done wonderful stuff. Where's the evidence? Okay, and that's done for each of the questions. The scores are then amalgamated and put through an algorithm. Will be given 1 of 3 outcomes: trailblazer status, borderline, or currently does not meet the criteria. Next slide, thank you. Having gone through the algorithm, as you can see here, is an example of what trailblazer looks like. You can see a lot of green and yellow, which are strongly positive scores. So that's under each question. So this is for each of the questions. Here is a visual of what it looks like when it's not been met. So as I said, reds and blues, we don't want. And next slide. And here's a visual of where it's borderline. So I said, this is what we get through the algorithm. And then I said, we then put it with a report afterwards. Next slide, thank you. In a moment, I'll hand you over to Anna, who will go through the questions in the application, what makes a good application form. But before that, we thought it'd be good to share insights from a successful trailblazer. So please watch this video from Nisha Porter, Head of Organisation Development from Sutton and Kingston Council, whose application was initially borderline, and then they resubmitted to achieve full trailblazer status. So thank you, Nisha. Why was it important for your organisation to apply to become a trailblazer?
I think it's really important for any organisation to test themselves externally. I think the process provided us with an insight and further scrutiny into what we deliver to address race inequality within our borough. I think in terms of the feedback we received from Race Equality Matters, it's really challenged us further and has given us a different way of measuring our impact.
What impact did achieving trailblazer status have on your organisation?
I think for our organisation, it helped us to highlight what we'd actually delivered over the last couple of years. It demonstrated our commitment to race equality, but equally our ongoing commitment, because I think many organisations may be struggling now to maintain momentum in terms of the race equality space. So what it enabled us to do is demonstrate our external validation and the work that we need to continue on in terms of our race equality plan. We use anyway internally our workforce metrics, staff surveys and feedback from not only our multi-ethnic network, but a number of our staff networks within the council in terms of intersectionality. So for us, it was just really important in demonstrating the impact of the work that we'd done, but also our genuine commitment to continue in that space.
What positive impact has it had on your ethnically diverse colleagues?
For our ethnically diverse colleagues, what we've seen is in terms of employee satisfaction and I guess the recognition of the commitment from senior leaders, from our managers in terms of creating an inclusive workforce, that has come through really strongly. We've seen in our staff survey that colleagues feel that they are treated with dignity and respect, and that's over 80% agreement with that statement. When we've looked at analysing our data by demographics, we're not seeing any differentials in terms of how our ethnically diverse workforce agree to the statements within our staff survey.
Top tips for future applicants?
I think my top tip is not to be too modest. I think in this space, because for many of us, this is a long journey in terms of race equality. for some much longer than myself. For some, it might be something quite new, but there isn't a silver bullet. So I think in terms of making a change, it's incremental. So highlighting those small achievements, I think is really important, as well as the larger ones. So yeah, don't be modest. Share, because there'll be other organisations that can learn from what you're doing. Also, I think Race Equality can partner with you in terms of the feedback that you receive on what else you could be doing or what else you could be considering. I know that that's been a key value for us in terms of applying to be a trailblazer.
Thank you, Nisha. And as I said, yeah, they were borderline initially, and by providing extra evidence, they could showcase that they deserve trailblazer status. I will now hand over to Anna, who will go through application and share what makes a good trailblazer application. And then after she's done that, there's a first chance for some Q&As. Okay, so over to you, Anna. Thank you.
Hi all, it's great to see you. So now we'll go on to the application itself. And remember, whilst you're applying, please don't hesitate to ask me or the team if you have any further questions or you need any help with your application. As you may be aware, links to the application are on our website on Apply to be a Trailblazer. Again, if you have any difficulty in locating it, please let me know. And what you can see here is the bronze application form. Next slide. And here you can see the solution forms, which are similar. And as we said, this is when you've successfully implemented one of our solutions. Next slide. So what makes a good application and what are the judges looking for? I'll be going through some of the questions and there will be an opportunity to ask questions after. Next slide. So the first question, what action has been taken? Please explain what action your organisation has taken in 2022 and 2023. We do appreciate that the work may have begun before this, so please do reference. Next slide. And when we say action, here is sort of what we mean. So this can be any initiatives or solutions your organisation have undertaken, and these can be as or your own. It could be training or workshops that have been introduced, or a new strategic implementation, or a policy change, or events you may have held. And even further, it could be collaboration with networks or the creation of networks. And overall, any type of data collection that has inspired change. Next slide. So the second question, how was this inclusive? This is a key question because it's about how action was approved by those with lived experience and how ethnically diverse colleagues endorsed that this was the case and how this was measured. Next slide. And now here is what we mean by inclusivity. So did your EDI networks take part in decision making? Have you conducted surveys? Have there been open and honest conversations where the experiences of ethnically diverse colleagues have been heard and then actioned? And were those with lived experience included in your decision making? And if so, how did that happen? Next slide. Now, third question. Were there any challenges to inclusion? What challenges did you face implementing change and how were they overcome? Next slide. And what we mean by challenges to inclusion is we know that change can be hard and we want to acknowledge that. And so we want to understand what you did, because changing policy, systems or processes can be easy on paper, but getting colleagues to actually adopt it can sometimes be tricky. So, did you have issues within the culture of your organization? Did individuals feel included and heard and ready for change? Did colleagues and or leadership require training and workshops to effectively make a change? Did leadership get actively involved, or did you find it difficult to engage them? Was collecting the data a challenge? Was there a lack of trust, a need to build safe spaces before colleagues would include themselves? Or was there a lack of realization that change was even needed? Fourth question, what is the impact? So please tell us if and how meaningful impact has been made. Next slide. And what we mean by that is, have you seen more participation? And that can be in networks, it could be in initiatives. Have you seen sentiments improve, higher confidence and trust, or a change to the culture of your organization? Is there progress and improvements that have been made that are supported by data, which could be recruitment or retention? Have percentages of those sharing data increased? Are colleagues taking more opportunities and getting actively involved? And are colleagues actively endorsing the changes that you're making? Next slide. So on to the fifth question. So how has this impacted colleagues? This is a crucial question. So please provide how meaningful impact has been determined by ethnically diverse colleagues. Next slide. And what we mean by how it impacts colleagues is, are you seeing a higher satisfaction and safety expressed within the work environment? Are you seeing, again, higher recruitment, retention, and/or promotion? Are you seeing more visibility and participation? Are there more open conversations taking place? And are you seeing changes in behavior and approach from allies, ethnically diverse colleagues, and/or leadership? Next slide. And to the sixth question. So how is this different? Why is this new or different for your organization? And what we mean by, next slide, and what we mean by new or different is, to get different outcomes, we need to do things differently. So we need to compare how your organization was before. What's new and what have you changed? Have you tried a new strategy, a new approach, or a different type of communication with your teams? Have you tried new initiatives or ways of working that you might not otherwise have employed? Next slide. And on to the seventh question. Why was this brave? Why was this action or activity brave for your organization? Next slide. And here is what we mean by brave. Was there taking on of more responsibility and accountability that hadn't been done before? Were the conversations and the honesty about the improvements that needed to be made? How did that go? Was there difficulty there? Did you face resistance from the overall culture or within leadership? Did you face repercussion or dissatisfaction with the changes? Did it require retraining, which can take time and an allocation of resources? Did it require real involvement and consideration in areas that had not been looked at? Or was it the change as a whole in changing approach or processes and changing what was done before? And what did overall, with this question, what we're looking at is, what did it take for your goals to be achieved? Have you done anything that surprised you or anything that was difficult to implement? Next slide. And on to the eighth question. What are your future plans? Trailblazers is not a one-off thing. Hence, we need to know what continuous action your organization will be doing. So further action means tell us what future action has been planned. And here is what we mean by future action. How are you going to build or continue your momentum? Have you planned organizational strategies, potentially collaboration with networks or external bodies? Are you going to run further initiatives or events? Do you plan to publish data such as the ethnicity pay gap, or those participating in sharing their ethnicity data with you? Do you plan to change your recruitment processes? Are you offering further training opportunities or progression options, or changes to leadership and representation? Next slide. And lastly, and most importantly, evidence. What we have found is that the key to successful applications is evidence. Our accredited panel of judges are evaluating the evidence you have provided, and so evidence in your answers is crucial. Next slide. In terms of evidence, there are key things that we will be looking at. So we want to see evidence of impact, how ethnically diverse colleagues have been involved, demonstrating how their voices are being heard and supported, and how senior leadership have engaged. And you can do this by comparing it yearly, monthly. You can show surveys, and anything like that. Next slide. Before we find out more on what judges are looking for and hear from a couple, we thought now would be a good time for you to ask any initial questions on the process. To keep things moving, please ask questions in the chat and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. And if you don't feel comfortable, feel free to send me an email, which I'll respond to outside of today's event.
Thank you, Anna. So basically, if you put your questions in the chat, I'll read them out and we'll answer them. There's another chance for some Q&A later in the event. So we've got about sort of 6 or so minutes to take the first round of questions, and that's on the process that you've Anna's gone through. Also appreciate there's lots of information there, but we will be sending this to you afterwards.
Sorry, there is one question
thank you for
in the chat. Where just one second, sorry. And it was about, does if you're in a local authority, does the whole local authority need to commit, or can it be done within the department?
So Javid, would you be able to share your thoughts on this one?
I think so. Predominantly, we're trying to move organisations. That's the focus. I guess if you're a massive organisation and department is huge with, like, hundreds or thousands of staff, then we can look at it. So you can just drop us a line afterwards and we can speak about it. But we're trying to move organisations because that's the idea behind it. So, but as I said, if you wanted to contact us afterwards to explain more, then we'd love to look at it. Okay, because we're trying to. We know there's wonderful pockets in organisations. What Trailblazer status is for an organisation because they're the ones that will, have let's call it the badge of honour. Okay, opportunity to apply. Sorry, is this an opportunity to apply only once a year, or is it on a rolling basis, Anna?
So we will have another opportunity to apply. We are currently on our 3rd wave, and so far we will be running this 2 times a year. So there will be another opportunity later in this year.
There will be places will be limited to apply. So that's what we're going through this process with you, sharing the questions with you, so you can think, actually, where are we there? Now you've seen the questions and you've seen Anna's top tips, so you can see, actually, are we be able to address them? If so, yes. If no, actually, it gives you a focus. And these top tips, have come from Race Equality Matters knowledge, but also from the judges. This is what they're looking for to score highly on each of the questions. So it's the perfect, cheat sheet or crib sheet, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, you're welcome, Anita, and thank you, Maria. Any other questions? Can we apply for our impact? So can we apply for our impact with our customers, or does it have to be staff? No, so it's all about impact. So we want to showcase organizations that are trying to tackle race inequality. So you're very welcome for that. Again, maybe offline you can have a chat with us about what you're doing, and then we can see whether it's the bronze one or the bronze external one we look at. But obviously I don't know your organization or who your customers are. But please, we're trying to champion what good looks like. Yeah. Okay. Is this opportunity once a year? Okay, any more questions, or we will carry on? I said there's a second option for Q&A later, so I'll give it 10 more seconds. Okay, what is the cost? Thank you, Mandy. Very good. So there is no cost, but we would greatly value donations to support our work, because we want to create the change, and we suggest donations depending on the size of your organization. So that is the offer, because we don't want to block people becoming Trailblazers, but that, to enable us to keep doing this. And we are grateful that the judges give their time for free to make it happen, because that's what we're trying to do. So but any donations, or if you want to talk offline, we're very happy to do so. Thank you for that. But I will just say, maybe in the future we might have to start charging, because it does take a lot of time. Anna spends a lot of her time on this, and Anna's not a volunteer. She's a valued member of the Race Equality Matters team. Okay, so thank you for that. Okay, so we'll go on to the next bit. So what we now like to do is share an edited video from a couple of our judges to hear a few words on why Trailblazers are important and why what they look for in application toward Trailblazer status. So here you see Jenna Bemiro, capital reporting analyst at Santander, and Shirley Asidu, bid writer for Seeds for Impact. They share their thoughts in this brief video. Thank you, Nish. Why do you think the concept of trailblazers is important?
So for a long time, we know that companies have been signing charters and, drawing up policies and stating that they're equal opportunities employers, and that's all words. And so with Trailblazers, which focuses on actions, I just felt that is what we need. That is what we need right now, the change. But then it also reminds me about, somebody running on a trail, where you've hit the dips and, the rocky paths. It's not an easy thing to do. So any company that does get Trailblazer status has to be really highly commended. But it also reminds me of being on a podium. When you do get to Trailblazer status, you are on a podium, encouraging other people to come onto that podium as well. So yeah, it's for me, that's quite key.
As a judge, what were you looking for to determine whether an organization is a trailblazer?
I wanted to know what actions companies were taking, and they've been so varied, and that's been encouraging. But for me, it was also the evidence. A lot of the applications had evidence, with the stats and numbers that showed the differences that were the achievements that they were making. But what was very important for me was getting an idea of the impact that was impact on ethnic minority staff within the companies, and how they've been empowered as part of the journey, if you like. So I needed to see that validation from them.
As a judge, what were you looking for to determine whether an organization is trailblazer?
Personally, for myself, there was kind of two areas that I was looking at. So I was trying to see sort of how organizations are trying to get involved and understand what the issues are with racial diversity, and really try and tackle those issues and understand what the racial barriers are within their business. And then secondly, I was wanting to see something that's a bit more quantitative, i.e. seeing sort of Black and ethnic minority recruitment increasing across all levels, especially senior management, seeing D&I staffing levels reflective of the size of the business, and just evidence that they're really trying to close those sort of ethnicity pay gaps, understand what the disparities are, and just really coming up with a plan of making significant changes.
Okay, thank you. So that hopefully gives you some suggestions of what judges are looking for, and we will share these videos with you afterwards.
So
over to Anna, thank you.
So to conclude, judges want to know what you've done backed with evidence and hear the voice of your ethnically diverse colleagues. We want to help organizations achieve trailblazer status. So here are 5 top tips to help you. Assume we know nothing and explain the work you've done as if you're explaining it for the first time. The more supporting information and evidence that you can provide, the better. So don't worry about sending too much of that. Show the impact on and the endorsement from ethnically diverse colleagues within your organization. Show how ethnically diverse colleagues have informed your decisions, and show how you identified barriers and how you overcame them. Next slide. So we thought you might be interested in some examples of successful trailblazers. So at first we have Amy. So to create impact and encourage ethnically diverse staff endorsement, they used positive action in recruitment to create a representative workforce. They also appointed mentors for underrepresented groups to support career progression, and the outcome was a 10% increase in representation. And just so you understand what positive action in recruitment means, is that they used technology to remove bias. Next slide. Amy also implemented safe space conversations, and their inclusion strategy and initiatives were shaped by the voices of their ethnically diverse colleagues and race networks to ensure meaningful impact. And the outcome of this was that it gave colleagues more than a voice. Next slide. And now we have Newham Council. To engage senior leadership, they implemented reciprocal mentoring, which created a shift in awareness and inspired more action from senior leadership. This also helped break down barriers and allowed ethnically diverse colleagues to develop their leadership skills. Next slide. Newham Council also published their ethnicity pay gap report to create transparency and facilitated an ethnicity pay gap review to understand economic racial injustice. Next slide. And also for Newham, to monitor the inclusion and participation of ethnically diverse employees, as of April 2021, senior leaders received monthly reports on staff disclosure of diversity data. And through self-input, 83% of staff have submitted their ethnicity data for HR purposes, which is really high. Next slide. Then we're on to Network Rail. So what they wanted to do was improve their representation. So they set targets to improve senior leadership representation and launched the second cohort of their career development program for junior ethnically diverse colleagues. And what they saw was an improvement of staff retention and representation within leadership. Next slide. Secondly, for Network Rail, they also designed and delivered mandatory training to all employees on the links between inclusion, race, and safety. Industry colleagues were also invited to participate in the Stand Up for Race Equality briefings, and they launched the Rail Unites Inclusion Group. And what they saw was a reduction in the ethnicity pay gap and improvement in employee engagement scores. Next slide. There are various case studies of these and other trailblazers on the REM website. So if you would like to read more on our successful applicants, you can find them there. And this is what one will look like. Next slide. Now we would like to introduce you to our most recent wave of trailblazers. Please play the Wave 2 video. Next slide. Okay, so to reiterate your next steps. So the Trailblazer application deadline is 1 p.m. on Monday, the 28th of April. And if you would like it pre-vetted, the deadline is the 14th of April. And after today's event, we will send you the link to the applications and further. So the link is to our website and you will receive that. And now Javid will take over.
Thank you. To help you and your organization continue its journey, addressing race inequality, here are a couple of events coming soon that may be of interest, and soon we'll go into another Q&A for you. So we've got the Race Network Leaders and Future Leaders virtual network event, which is next Tuesday, 21st of March, again lunchtime. This is an event where you'll meet other Race Network leads and future leads and allies in collaboration discussion groups, where you hear new ideas, learn how to stay connected after the event. The focus will be on data and KPIs, how to encourage active allyship, and what race networks can do to make race inequality everyone's business. The other event we have is our Tea Break, How to Do It Right workshop, which is at the end of April 27th. And this is a How to Do It Right workshop. You will hear why it is needed and the impact it makes, how to utilize the How to Do It Right guide, and you'll also hear from an organization that has implemented it. This will be a dynamic and interactive event with two 10-minute breakout sessions to discuss, share ideas and problem solve potential challenges that could be a barrier for your organization. 90% of people that leave these workshops feel confident they can then run one. Next slide, thank you. If you heard about our jobs board yet, check it out on the website. It's an opportunity for your organization to reach and attract a more diverse talent pool. Next slide. So before we have a final Q&A, we'd just like to do a quick poll to understand what was helpful in this event and how we can help you going forward. And we'll share the results with you after the event. So if we can launch the poll, thank you. Thank you all for participating in the poll. So what is your role within an organization? So we can see who's here today. So 45% of you, so nearly half are D&I leads, 70% senior leaders. So it's good to have you here today. 24% race leaders and 10% race network members, and a further 17% are in the HR teams. So thank you for that. Question 2, how helpful was it to hear from the judges? So helpful and very helpful, 87%. So that's great to hear. 3, how helpful was it to hear from previous Trailblazer? The wonderful Nisha from Kingston and Sutton Council. An incredible 93% saying helpful and very helpful. How helpful was us going through the application form questions? So 38% said helpful and a further 62% said very helpful. So 100% found it helpful. So well done for Anna for that. I said 62% saying very helpful. So please do share this with other organizations so we can help encourage more organizations to apply. Question 5, are you clear on the type of information you may need to provide to support your application? And that's absolutely crucial. But what's fantastic is 97% of you think yes, you do. You are clear on the type of information. Question 6, how beneficial do you think having a summary report collating judges' feedback on your applications will be? So fantastic, 66% said very beneficial and 31% said beneficial. So that's 97%. And as you heard from Nisha and others, that actually you can build your program going forward on the feedback from the judges in these reports. Question 7, when do you think you'll apply to become a Trailblazer? So 38% of you still not sure, and we will look to support you on that. Great to 28% this wave, and a further 21% the autumn wave, and then the remainder being next year. But we want to help and support and encourage all of your organizations to achieve Trailblazer status, because it means you are making progress. So which Trailblazer status are you interested in? 86% said bronze, and 28% said race equality matters solution. So you could multi-pick on there. So, but it's great that 86% of you are quite keen on bronze. Is there anything that would prevent you from applying? So what are the blockages or the barriers? So in order of the most popular ones or the key barriers, so lack of evidence of impact and progress, which is 45%, and that's important. But if you go for bronze status, there's a difference between bronze and platinum. So some impact and progress evidence is important, but it doesn't have to be, a work of art at the moment. 41% lack of resource and capacity to apply. So maybe we can support on that. It's great to see 28%, so nearly 1 in 3 of you don't think there will be any barriers. And then 21% not enough progress made, and we appreciate that. And 10% lack of leadership endorsement. And I think that's why we've got question 10. If you achieve Trailblazer status, which of the following do you think your organization will benefit from? Some of the responses here scored really high. So 79% attracting more diverse future talent. 79% that is. 76% keep the momentum going in tackling race inequality. We know how momentum stutters or is even stopped, especially, sort of 2 years on after 2020. 72% thinks it will encourage managers and senior managers to take it more seriously. And we know many organizations are struggling to engage with them. So 72% saying that. Another 2 important points, 62% to inspire allies to be more proactive in addressing race inequality. We've got an event on active allyship and the need and importance for it. And a further 62% here say to inspire and energize our race network and ethnically diverse colleagues. So thank you all for that. And we look forward to hearing and being in touch with you all soon. Okay, thank you. So we'll share some of this information with you after, but I just want to give you the chance to ask you a question. So someone's asked, you don't get results or impact straight away, which we appreciate. And that's why you don't go straight to gold or platinum, it's bronze. So actually you can share, this is what's starting to happen. We're here to help people make the grade and on the journey. We're not here to fail people. If 1,000 organizations apply, we want 1,000 to achieve Trailblazer status, because what that means is organizations are starting to make an impact. So again, what you can do again offline is share with us. We can have a chat through Anna and I can chat through you. I think it's from Michelle, and maybe see if we think the impact you got, and if not, maybe it's later in the year, and if we run Trailblazers next year, there's an opportunity then. Okay. Any other questions coming through here? got Michelle's question. So if, yeah, please put your questions in the chat. Okay, I think we're doing okay for time. Let me just check a couple of things. Okay, now I appreciate, we don't normally do this, but as an exclusive, and Anna's not going to know what I'm going to say. Because of time, and we know it can overrun, if a couple of people want to put their hand up, if they prefer to verbalize their question, we can do that for you. But that's a special exclusive one-off. We'll take 2 verbal questions. If not, put it in the chat. Okay, got the questions there. What's the cost of the covered? Okay, otherwise we think that's okay. Okay, brilliant. So I said all this information. Sorry, Fabian, you've raised your hand. So can we unmute Fabian or Fabian? I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Oh yes, hi. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, I think Fabian, but Fabian is fine. It's fine. So I was wondering, so in a situation whereby you want your organization to apply, I'm Nigerian, work for Tenant Townsend, and I know it has to go through because I'm going to inform like the D&I lead, and how can REM maybe reach out to the organization and help them see benefits? Because you know how this process works. When you have an organization hierarchy, it goes through certain people, and in some point it gets lost in transition. And we say, okay, we'll do it next time. The reason why I'm so interested is because I don't want something we say in Nigeria, you can't set an exam by yourself and mark that exam. I want our goals on achieving racial equality within the business should be judged with external yardsticks, not us saying it our own way and nothing happens, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you. Fabian, what I'll say, that the line was a bit not so clear. Anna, did you pick up some of that?
So just so I understand, you're saying how would you get the rest of your organization to engage with this and want and apply to become a trailblazer? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, can there be can there be a certain way in which REM, after we have informed them, can also reach out to help them see the benefit?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can definitely reach out. If you email the info at email with the person with the email of the person to speak to, what I can do is I can email them and see if we can set up a conversation. And then as we go through any of the work that they've been doing, we would be happy to point out their strong areas and why Trailblazer is important and how it can benefit your organization, as well as, sort of the wider community.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna. Thank you.
And I think also on the website, it does say some of the benefits to the organization. I think it reflects on a question. I think it's Juliet's asked, how many organizations have achieved Trailblazer status in total, and how long has it been going for?
So the Trailblazers has been going since last year. We've had 2 waves so far, and I believe that we are just under 30 Trailblazers at this time.
Yeah. So it is very new. And again, I guess a lot of it shows how, we're asked a lot on why it was created, what organizations are doing well. And when we ask other people what organization do well, very few can name an organization. If they can just name one. So what we're trying to say, here's 30 organizations that Anna touched upon. And if you go on the website, you can see their case studies of what they've done. And and it's a journey. As I said, they're not what we call platinum status now, but these are sticking their head above the parapet. And the key thing is, the decision making was done by ethnically diverse employees from across the country, all outside race equality matters. So some are from the NHS, some from banks, some from retail, some senior leaders, some D&I leads. So it's a really good feedback of how you're progressing. And our organizations have been grateful that didn't achieve the status to get the feedback of what they need to do different. And just to say, I think so far it's about 60 to 65% are achieving the status. So there is a bit of a bar, But again, Anna's around if you wanted to have a chat with her, after today's event for more clarity. I've got a question from Sharon. Victor, do we have to implement REM solutions before we can apply for the Bronze Trailblazer Awards? Anna?
So you don't have to have used one of our solutions. If you have your own solutions or your own initiatives or new ways of working, policy changes, new strategic directions, you can apply. It doesn't, we have specific trailblazers for our solutions. And sometimes when organizations apply for bronze, they have implemented some of our solutions and they share that alongside their own initiatives and their own goals and their own achievements. But if you'd like to apply for bronze, you don't have to have applied one of our solutions. Just please tell us about all of the wonderful things that you're doing.
The idea of Trailblazer status is what our organization doing that's good. Now, whether it's a race quality management solution, like Anna said, or not, it doesn't. We just want to know what good looks like, and then we want to showcase this so others can learn. And it leads to a really good question by Sarah Mohammed Qureshi. How long are awards valid for?
So you have between 6 to 18 months to apply to move your Trailblazer status upwards. So if you're going to go for a bronze, sorry, let me start again. If you go for a solutions Trailblazer, they are indefinitely awarded to you. So you've successfully implemented it, you've shown the impact, and that will be your award indefinitely. Now, with the bronze, because we want to encourage organizations to continue the work that they're doing, you have between 6 to 18 months to apply again to move your application up and go towards silver, gold, and then platinum. So after 18 months, if you haven't done any further work, you will need to either apply for another application or you will lose your accreditation.
And I guess it's the way I see it, it's a bit like, say, karate or sort of first aid. So the karate angle is, you start off at whatever belt, I think it's yellow or something or green, and then you move your way up. So it's and we want to get to black belt in that sense. And by like first aid training, I think it lasts 2 or 3 years, and then you've got to refresh. And that's the idea. What we don't want organizations to say really proudly, we got Trailblazer status, fantastic, and everything. And they received it in 1883. You're living off that. You see organizations with awards, you start seeing them scratch off the dates because they've done very little. So this is all about keeping the momentum going. This was co-created by an ethnically diverse community of race equality matters, saying, look, organizations do pop up, they win the award, and they do nothing after it. This is to keep that momentum going. Anna's point, absolutely right. If you've done My Name Is, solution, it's a lifelong thing, because once you've adopted it into your organization to get people's names right, then that's kind of yours for life. So that's the recognition for that. We're time for one last question before we wrap up, so you can go back to your day jobs, as they say. Okay. Thank you. I think that's that. Okay. So hopefully we've covered everything today. If you do have any further questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us using our email, info@raceequalitymatters.com. And now you've met and seen Anna, if you haven't previously. So she's there to help support you, as well as the rest of the team. Next slide, please. To wrap up, a huge thank you to our partners and sponsors. As mentioned, we are not for profit. They fund the work. They fund the work to create these solutions that you can access for free. So if you'd like to support us and get some branding, please do get in touch. We need to thank our judges, Shirley and Jennifer, for sharing their advice, and also Nisha Porter, Trailblazer Sutton and Kingston Council. Final slide. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing your applications. If you're 50-50, shouldn't I, do drop us a line, because sometimes you be bold to get it. And I said, can I just clarify, we announced those that achieved status on the 5th of July. We don't announce or mention anyone that hasn't achieved a status or borderline. So it's kind of a private thing like that. We just provide the feedback, and you saw them detailed reports, which Anna helps pull together. It gives you real guidance on what to do forward. So thank you for all. And remember, Trailblazers, it's more than an award. So you can put your tuxedos away. Thank you all.